Welcome to the nation's Leaders from Coast to Coast podcast. I am your host, George J. Jefferson, and I am an AI. This podcast is written by and recorded by AI Technologies. Each day we will profile one politician and other government officials in a completely random order. You can follow us at pointedwords.com, and remember, better pointed words than pointed swords. Now, let's get started with today's profile of Jerry Moran, the senator from Kansas. Jerry Moran's biography. Jerry Moran, born on May 29, 1954, in Great Bend, Kansas, is a seasoned Republican U.S. Senator representing the state of Kansas. With deep-rooted connections to rural America and a career committed to public service, Moran has become known for his unwavering focus on the issues affecting small towns, veterans, agriculture, and conservative economic principles. Raised in the small town of Plainville, Kansas, Moran's background is a classic story of hard work and commitment to community, values that he credits to his upbringing and which continue to shape his approach to governance. Moran's early education was rooted in Kansas, where he attended Plainville High School and went on to pursue higher education at Fort Hays State University. Later, he transferred to the University of Kansas, earning both a bachelor's degree and a Juris Doctor from the university's School of Law. During his time at the University of Kansas, Moran interned with the Kansas State Legislature, where he got a first-hand look at how state government operates and where he developed a passion for public service. These early experiences laid the groundwork for a lifetime of advocating for policies that reflect the needs of Kansans, especially those living in rural communities. After graduating, Moran practiced law in Hays, Kansas, working closely with local businesses, farmers, and individuals. During this time, he became attuned to the unique challenges and needs of rural Kansans, particularly those involved in agriculture and small businesses. This experience informed his understanding of local economies and underscored the importance of community-centered policies. In 1989, Moran was elected to the Kansas State Senate, where he served for 8 years. While in the state legislature, Moran was an advocate for property tax reform, rural development, and healthcare access, issues that were essential to his constituents. His pragmatic approach to legislating earned him respect among peers and constituents alike, and his reputation as a diligent, thoughtful representative began to take shape. It was during this period that Moran honed his skills in bipartisan negotiation, focusing on legislation that could bring practical benefits to his community. In 1996, Moran made the leap to national politics, running for and winning a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives for Kansas's 1st Congressional District. The 1st District, often known as the Big First, spans a vast, largely rural area and has a strong agricultural base. During his time in the House, Moran focused on issues such as agricultural policy, rural healthcare, economic development, and veterans affairs. He served on committees like the House Agriculture Committee and the House Veterans Affairs Committee, where he built a record of supporting legislation that directly impacted his district and sought to ensure that rural voices were heard in Washington. After over a decade in the House, Moran set his sights on the U.S. Senate and ran in 2010, succeeding Senator Sam Brownback, who chose to run for governor of Kansas. In the Senate, Moran continued to prioritize Kansas's agricultural economy, rural healthcare, and veterans affairs, focusing on infrastructure improvements, economic opportunities, and policies that benefit Kansans. He has served on influential committees, including the Senate Appropriations Committee, the Veterans Affairs Committee, and the Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee. These roles allow Moran to have a significant impact on both state-specific issues and national policy discussions. In the Senate, Moran has been a vocal advocate for Kansas's agricultural industry, pushing for policies that support family farms, sustainable agriculture, and economic stability for rural communities. He has been a leader in shaping the Farm Bill, supporting crop insurance, and expanding trade opportunities for Kansas's farmers. Moran believes that agriculture is essential to both Kansas's economy and national security, and he often emphasizes the need for policies that keep this industry strong. One of Moran's significant achievements has been his work on the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. A passionate advocate for veterans, Moran has worked to improve the health care and services available to veterans, addressing issues like mental health, streamlining VA operations, and improving rural healthcare access for veterans. He frequently visits VA facilities and meets with veterans in Kansas, prioritizing first-hand feedback and engagement to guide his policy work. Moran has also focused on improving economic opportunities in rural areas, championing infrastructure projects and broadband expansion to make rural areas viable for both businesses and residents. His legislation has supported small businesses, created rural job opportunities, and promoted investment in local economies, making it possible for Kansas's rural areas to thrive despite challenges like population decline and industry shifts. Jerry Moran resides in Manhattan, Kansas, with his wife, Raba, and they have 2 grown children. Throughout his career, Moran has maintained close ties to his roots, often spending time in Kansas to engage with constituents directly and attend local events. He prides himself on being an accessible and dedicated representative, bringing a strong sense of Kansas's values to his work in Washington. Why people support Jerry Moran? Senator Jerry Moran has garnered strong support among Kansans for several reasons, particularly his commitment to rural issues, veterans, and a common-sense approach to governance. One of the most notable reasons constituents support Moran is his dedication to rural America and agricultural policy. Moran's background and deep understanding of rural communities give him insight into the challenges faced by farmers, ranchers, and small business owners, and he consistently advocates for policies that address these issues. Whether he is working on the Farm Bill or supporting drought relief efforts, Moran's commitment to agriculture has earned him the trust of constituents who view farming as the backbone of the state's economy. Moran's strong support for veterans and military families is another pillar of his popularity. As a long-standing member of the Veterans Affairs Committee, he has been a tireless advocate for improving access to health care and resources for veterans, focusing on issues like mental health, quality of VA care, and expanding rural VA facilities. His dedication to these issues resonates deeply with Kansas's veterans and military families, who appreciate his commitment to ensuring they receive the support and recognition they deserve. Another major factor behind Moran's support is his emphasis on economic development in rural areas. Moran has championed efforts to expand broadband access, improve infrastructure, and support small businesses, all of which are critical to sustaining Kansas's small towns. These initiatives not only create jobs but also make rural areas more attractive places to live, preventing the population loss that threatens many small towns across the United States. Many Kansans also value Moran's commitment to bipartisanship and pragmatic governance. While he is a staunch conservative on fiscal issues, he has shown a willingness to work with Democrats on issues that impact Kansans, such as healthcare access, veterans benefits, and infrastructure. For many voters, his approach is a refreshing alternative to hyper-partisan politics, reflecting an emphasis on problem-solving over ideological divides. Finally, Moran's commitment to Kansas values resonates with many constituents who see him as a true representative of their state. From attending local events to speaking openly about the challenges facing rural America, Moran has a reputation as someone who understands his constituents and remains dedicated to advocating for their needs in Washington. Why people don't support Jerry Moran? While Senator Jerry Moran has strong support, he also faces criticism from certain groups and individuals who disagree with his positions or approach to governance. One source of criticism is Moran's stance on conservative social issues, which some view as too traditional and out of step with modern values. Moran's positions on issues like reproductive rights and LGBTQ rights have led to criticism from more progressive Kansans who feel that his views do not reflect the diverse perspectives of the state. This has especially affected his support among younger voters, who tend to advocate for more progressive social policies. Moran's approach to environmental policy has also drawn opposition, particularly from environmental advocates concerned about climate change and sustainable practices. While Moran has prioritized economic growth, his support for policies benefiting Kansas's agricultural and energy industries has, in some critics' view, come at the expense of environmental protection. They argue that his approach does not adequately address the long-term environmental challenges facing Kansas, such as extreme weather and droughts. Another point of contention is Moran's alignment with traditional Republican fiscal policies, such as tax cuts, reduced federal spending, and opposition to certain government assistance programs. Critics argue that his focus on limiting federal spending may overlook the needs of families and communities struggling with economic challenges. Some opponents believe his fiscal conservatism prevents Kansas from receiving essential federal support, especially in areas like healthcare and social services. Some Kansans also criticize Moran for being too entrenched in the political establishment, given his long tenure in Congress. For those who prioritize new ideas and fresh perspectives, his 2 decades in national politics make him appear disconnected from the evolving demographics and needs of Kansas. They argue that Kansas would benefit from leadership that reflects a broader range of experiences and perspectives, particularly on social and environmental issues. Finally, some constituents are frustrated by Moran's perceived focus on national Republican priorities, arguing that he sometimes appears more committed to party lines than addressing specific local issues. For these voters, his approach can feel out of touch with the concerns of moderate and independent Kansans who seek representation that directly addresses their daily challenges. Thanks for listening, and remember to join us at pointedwords.com, where you can follow the podcast and join in the discussion.